My name is Kelly and thank you for joining me today. Today I'm going to be talking about an upcoming Kickstarter game called Cat Saga Tangled Tails. This is a print and play game by Rolling Rhino Games, and a preview copy of the game was provided by Rolling Rhino Games so that I could create this video. I'll give an overview of the game and a brief description of the rules, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the game. I want to mention at the start that this is a preview copy of the game, and Rolling Rhino Games has continued to work on it after I received this copy. This does include some editing, so if you notice anything on the items that I show you, please keep in mind that this is not the finished version of the game. The publisher has been receptive to receiving my feedback, and I have sent over a few minor items for them to take a look at. This game is for 1 to 4 players or cats and is for ages 9+. The game has a playtime of around 45 minutes per saga. In this game, each player will play as a Catventurer, and if you play it solo, you will control 2 different cats and play by the 2-player rules. Items included in the game are the player boards, the sagas, which are the stories, the catalog, which holds the different options that you can select for each Catventurer, and also includes the various items, weapons, and spells that are available in the game. You also need 5 6-sided dice and a pencil, which are not included. Before I get too far into it, I do want to mention that I will be showing items from the game, including part of the saga, the story, so please be warned that there may be spoilers. Okay, and I do have the items, of course, printed out. I'm just going to read you a little bit of the story, which is on the rulebook itself. I'm not going to go over the rulebook, but just this little first part. So the story. Looking back, adventure has called you since you were just a kitten. Now, setting off on a journey that's beyond your wildest dreams, you are faced with an important question. Are you prepared to embrace an epic saga and forge your very own heroic tale? Dun, dun, dun. So this is a cooperative game in the vein of a role-playing game where the players are working together to adventure through different stories known as sagas. You will accomplish this by reading a small section of text and then making choices that are going to affect the narrative. This game is in the style of a choose-your-own-adventure book or the old-school fighting fantasy books, if you know what those are, except this can be played multiplayer. To start, you're actually going to be creating your Catventurer by naming them, of course. The more creative, the better. And then selecting a personality, which decides the behavior and mindset of the cat. And then you'll select their history, which is the backstory of your cat. After you've decided, those 2 choices will also provide a specific ability that can be used during the game and set your points in 6 different abilities, such as charisma, intellect, agility. You'll also be given options for different items that you can start the game with. I'll move that over there. So this is what the board looks like without any scribbles on it. And then this is the ones that I did. So I have Snuggles Graytail. And you can see that I chose a personality and their history. So I chose the personality of Cautious and then the history of Lore Seeker Saga. And then for Blizzard the Brave, I have the personality as Brave, of course. And then their history is Vanguard Saga. And so what you're going to do is, when you choose your personality, let me show you the personality section. So for Blizzard, he is Brave. So Brave is fearless and unwilling. You inspire others with your determination. Ability increase in strength and cunning. And then you have a trait that can help you. So any try or fight with a success number that's double or more than your ability points in that specific ability, add +1. And that would be add +1 to your successes. So the ability increase is strength and cunning. So you can see here, here's strength, and then here's cunning. And so what you're going to do is when you get an ability increase, you actually just outline that 1 dice. So you can see I've actually gone through a couple of sagas with this character, so it's not quite from the beginning. but basically what you'll do is you'll just outline it, and that basically counts as like an automatic success. Depending on the player count, the cat creation rules will vary. So for instance, when there's 3 cats, you'll select both a personality and a history, but you'll only pick 2 items from like the history. If there's 4 cats, then each cat will get either a personality or a history, and they get 2 ability points of their choice. So you can see with the history, so for Blizzard, I chose a Vanguard Saga. So Vanguard is a history of hard-fought battles, has honed your skills of a protector. So I get a ability increase of strength and agility. I get a mastery. And then these are the items that I can choose. So when there's 2 items on one line, such as heavy armor and spiked boots, I can choose one or the other. And then I get either a great axe or a scimitar, and then I get a whetstone and a rope. So those are the different items that you can get. And then after that, you're ready to start. So it's actually really easy to create it. I think the longest part for me was just reading through all of the different personalities and histories, seeing which one I wanted each Catventurer to have, and then of course choosing the items. And so you'll begin by reading the intro to Saga 1 and you're off. Each saga will have numbered entries, and you'll read a different entry depending on the choice you make with the previous one, and then also if you succeed or fail on a try or fight. Each entry will direct you to a different entry, and some entries will change what you can do or what happens based on a previous entry that you may have gone to. So these special entries will be tagged with like a plot keyword. And when you see that, you'll write that entry down on the player board, and then a future entry may reference these plot entries that you've been to. So for instance, with Snuggles Greytail, this is where you're going to put the plot numbers. And so you can see when I went to 07 on the first saga, it had the plot keyword, so you write it down here. And then let's say you go to a future entry and it says, if you've been to 07, go here. Or if you haven't, then go to this entry. So it can lead you depending on what your previous choices were. As in any good role-playing game, there will be chances to do what is called either a try or a fight. Either option will require a dice roll, but obviously a fight will be combat-related, where a try might be something like climbing or talking to someone. Each try or fight will require a roll against one of the 6 abilities, so either charisma, intellect, cunning, precision, agility, or strength. And you can use any items or abilities to assist with the roll. Some of them need to be decided before the roll, and others can be chosen after the roll. So you can roll all 5 dice and then see if you want to use one of your abilities or items to change your result. So you roll all the dice one time and see if you're able to hit the amount you need to succeed. So for instance, if you're rolling a strength try and you need 4 successes, you roll and count the dice that rolled a 6. And then any abilities that are already available on your player board are counted as an automatic success. So as you can see with back to Blizzard, so Blizzard has 2 of the strength dice already highlighted. So that means that he automatically has like a strength 2, and then he only needs to roll 2 more 6s, and then he'll succeed at a strength 4 try. Also similar to a game of Yahtzee, there may also be bonuses or the ability re-roll if you roll various runs, such as a small straight, full house, or pairs. And then also a fellow Catventurer is also able to provide a help action where you can re-roll any of the dice that you want, but you can't apply any of the helper's abilities or items. That's the main set of rules. There are, of course, additional rules if you fail a fight and how damage is applied, how to gain masteries, and rules for leveling up and gaining your specialty, rules for resting and moving on to the next saga. Here's what a clean player's boards look like. So you write their name here, their personality that you select, their history. When you level up to level 2, you gain a specialty, so you write specialty here. These are mastery items, so some of the items like your personality, history, or specialty may provide a mastery, and so you just circle here showing that you have that mastery. So for instance, some of the weapons you have to have a mastery in either the strength or the agility. mastery. Otherwise, you can't use some of the weapons. Here's all the different abilities and then what the number is. So anytime you're making a charisma roll, charisma always have to roll 1s. And then intellect, you always roll 2s, are counted as successes. And then over here is where you can put all of your items. You're allowed 12 different items. And then this section up here is for specific for head garb, I think body garb, and then paw garb. So, and for those, you can only have 1 of each in that section. And then as mentioned, this is where you write down the plot numbers as you go through the sagas, and that can affect what entries you may or may not go to. So that's it for the player board. Okay, and here's the start of the catalog. So here are all of the different personalities that are available to select. And then as you can see, there are stretch goals that can be unlocked during the Kickstarter. And then on the back side is all of the histories that you can select. And again, a couple of items that will be under stretch goals. On the next page, you have these specialties. So this is once you level up to level 2, you select your specialty. And then as you can see, there's multiple different specialties and then stretch goals. For Snuggles, my specialty was a wizard. So for Snuggles, I went with a wizard. So with the capabilities to shape reality itself, wizards are known for superior intellect and knowledge of magic. So you get a spell scribe. Once per saga, you may swap up to 2 used spells with spells from your spellbook. You get an ability increase. You get mastery over all 3 of the different spell types. And then you get additional items that you can select. And here are the items. So here's all the different head garb that you can select. Body garb, paw, and then versatile and objects. So some of these you may get during the saga itself. So there was one item in the first saga that, based on the choices that I made, I was able to pick up one of these items. And so I was able to add it to my inventory. So it's just all of the different objects. There's weapons as well. And here are the spells that you can select. So apologies, I was using this while I was playing. So you'll see some of my notes on here, but here's all the different spells. And here's what the sagas look like. So this is the first saga, Scratchwood Stagger, and they are 2 pages. And so here's a little blurb at the top that you just kind of read. It's a little intro. So as the first rays of dawn pierce through the canopy, a group of travelers passes through the dense Scratchwood forest. Towering trees loom ominously overhead, their gnarled branches intertwining like long fingers reaching out to snatch unwary travelers. The travelers are a group of merchants making their way to Leafstone, accompanied by you. Each of you carries a distinct air of mystery. However, as you travel together, you have time to get acquainted and share some tales. Go to number 01. And so then it's just laid out in numerical order. All right, so what do I think of this game? I think this game would be wonderful for anyone who loves cats, obviously. Anyone who loves cozy games. It's a great game for families and those who want a light entry-level version of an RPG. It's a great opportunity to dabble in role-playing your Catventurer, giving them a fun accent or having them interact with a story and narrate what their cat would say or how they would react to the situation. I think that's great for someone who's interested in heavier RPGs like D&D or Pathfinder, but is nervous to roleplay in one of those right off the bat. Especially if you have children or teenagers who are interested in those games and are maybe a little on the shyer side, or adults, as I was before I started playing in my D&D game. I really like the art. I'm a sucker for cute art, and even more so when it showcases cats. So as you can see, each of the different player boards have different art. Obviously, you don't have to choose a specific one for your type, but they do have the various types that you can use. It's really cute art. There's the Saga, which has some art. which is also really just, cute. It kind of just puts you in the story. I like the story. You're on a quest, and so you can make decisions on how you want to proceed through the quest. Even if you fail at a try, it never feels like I'm behind in the game, and the path to failure takes you on can be just as interesting as the path at the success would have. I had fun creating my Catventurer, and even though there's minimal choices to make, basically you're choosing like the personality and history to start, and then a few options with the items that you can take with you. But I was still able to make my Catventurers feel unique from each other. So Snuggles, Graytail, and Blizzard the Brave, in my mind, were two different cats and had different personalities that, yes, I did roleplay slightly. I enjoyed reading through the options and deciding who I wanted my Catventurer to be. So Snuggles, as I mentioned, is a little bit different than Blizzard, and the character options allow me to have each one be a little bit more proficient in different abilities, which, if anyone knows role-playing games, you want to make sure you have a nice spread of different abilities between the different characters, because you never know what kind of situation you're going to run into. In my plays of Cat Saga, I played solo, running 2 different Catventurers. The mechanics of the game are straightforward. They provide some ability to mitigate the randomness of the dice rolls through the abilities and the items that you have in your inventory. Again, with an RPG in general, you're making a lot of dice rolls. So there is an expectation that you will have randomness with it and luck of the dice. But you also have to decide if you want to use this one-time use item with this roll, or do you want to save it because there might be a roll that you really need to succeed on in the future. So there was a nice little bit of crunch there about deciding when or when not to use an item. Also with the help action. So normally in the multiplayer game, you only have one help action that each cat can provide to another cat. With the 2-player solo 2-player, you actually have a second ability or second chance to do that. But still, you don't want to, just use it loosey-goosey. You want to make sure you're actually using it when you think you really need to succeed or try to succeed. Because again, dice. The first saga is set up to help players get into the game, and you get familiar with the various rules and the dice rolls. The first saga is a little bit lower difficulty because of this, but it sets up the story really nicely so you know what's going on. So it's a nice flow into it. The next saga, though, does ramp up the difficulty. I was sweating a few of my choices and the dice rolls, and then trying to decide if I should use an item pre-roll or post-roll, or if I should take the failure and just see what happens. There was some nice crunch in the decisions that I had to make. Also, depending on where I thought I was with the saga itself, like, am I close to the beginning of the saga? I maybe hold on to the items a little bit longer, where if I'm getting to the middle or the end, it might be better just to make sure I'm getting through and using the items. Nice choices that you have to make in the game itself. Overall, my plays have been really enjoyable, and even the character leveling was a small game in itself. So I had fun deciding which specialty each of my Catventurers should gain when they went to level 2. That's when you gain your specialty for the first time. Each of my saga plays have lasted about an hour, and then when I leveled them up, from level 1 to level 2, it took about 45 minutes. Obviously, this did include me reading through each of the different specialties that were available, and of course, having to decide for both of my cats, since I was playing solo. Whereas in a higher player game, you're going to have, each person's going to be controlling one cat. And that's it. I hope this video gives you an idea about the game and helps you decide whether or not this game might be for you. I have the link to the Kickstarter page in the video's description below, so please check out the Kickstarter page for more details about the game, including what stretch goals are available. Thanks again to Rolling Rhino Games for providing a copy of the game so that I could create this video. And our adventure is at an end. But please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about the game, or if you have any questions about the game that I can answer. go ahead and leave me a comment. And then if you want to be notified anytime I post a new video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button below. Thank you. Bye. You didn't record any of it?